Well, it's time for the Midsummer Derby. We've been talking about the Travers the last few weeks on Horse Sense. Not only is it the Travers, though, where we're really looking forward to seeing the return of Sovereignty and Magnitude stepping up in class. We hadn't seen him take on company like this really ever, but the Risen Star was the lone time he showed his stuff against graded stakes foes. But not only is the Travers a big race, also a tremendous undercard, 14 races in total. We've got a promotion to talk about. We've got tournaments. It's a big week. It's Travers week. Let's do it.
Welcome back to another episode of Horse Sense. As always, I'm Bailey Armour, joined alongside the very far away from me today, Scott Shapiro. As you may have noticed, my background is a little bit different this week. I'm actually in Seattle right now. Like we mentioned on last week's show, I was at Emerald Downs for the big race on Sunday and then have stayed a couple days in Seattle. So if you hear any like city noise or if there's any lags or anything, we're on hotel Wi-Fi with single pane windows. So
Emerald
just
City
bear with us for this week's. Yeah, Emerald was awesome. They almost set a new state handle record that day. Dan Blacker won the big stake with Brian Malarkey, who is a long time, I guess, Washington State thoroughbred guy, his family and everything. So it was a really good turnout, and all the people there are incredible. So if you have the chance to get out to Emerald, highly recommend. But enough about my weekend and more about this upcoming weekend. Like Scott so kindly mentioned, it is Travers week. And along with that, we've got some pretty solid promotions going on. Friday night, of course, is Charlestown Classic night. So with that, we've got a $5,000 hit and split, $2,500 each on the late pick 4 and late pick 5. And then on Travers Day, we're bringing back the Exactathon that y'all know and love, this time with a $5,000 threshold total bonus. I don't know what exactly to call it. I mean, I probably should, but
$5,000 kitty. $5,000 in free money in the pool to be won by customers.
There you go.
Post and Express is a long-winded way of saying it.
The long way around. If you hit 6 or more exactas on that Travers card, you'll win your share of $2,500 in bonus cash. And then the player who hits the most exactas out of those 14, which is pretty daunting, will win their share of an extra $2,500. And then we've got a couple bet and get in at basically a couple different of our partner Canadian tracks going on this weekend as well. So make sure you check out everything on the promos tab in the FirstBet app or the promotions section of the Xpressbet website.
Yeah, and another busy Saturday and weekend at the as far as tournaments go. I think we had double-digit tournaments either last weekend. So lots of stuff going on, lots of qualifiers. The big one this week, the $800 Monmouth Travers Challenge, not Travis.
There we go.
Travers Challenge, which will involve mandatory Monmouth races and then Saratoga races from there. I know that's a pretty big tournament. Obviously, a big day in the area. A little bit north of where I am, way east of where you are, on the Jersey Shore. But yeah, and then spaces. I've got 3 more for the summer. When I kind of break down the summer, when we get to that middle of September, I start to call it the fall, kind of when Churchill starts back up and Saratoga and Del Mar are over. And we got 3 more big ones this week. The Travers obviously will be the focal point, and then next week we'll have Pacific Classic and closing Saratoga. I'll have Travis Stone on for that. Doug Nachman this week, and then Bobby Shoemaker, who I had on a couple weeks ago for the first time. Looking forward to having him back. It'll be kind of a little bit of a smorgasbord, if you will, that third week, but it is closing Saturday at Del Mar. So plenty of good action to be had, not only this Saturday, but over the next coming weeks. Well, the Midsummer Derby, the Travers Stakes, did not draw a big field this year, Bailey, but it's not because it's not a quality field. It's because the quality, the top of the division, I guess, scared a lot away. Sovereignty has just kind of handled everybody at this point. And journalism, I don't think it necessarily, maybe if he thought he had a real good shot of winning, he would have come back over. But this isn't really anything for them. They're just more planning backwards from the Breeders' Cup Classic, I think. The rest of them, I could have wished that a few of them were more willing to take a shot at one of the most prestigious races of the year, even if it's for second or third. But we've got what we've got, and it's actually got a really kind of intriguing element to it in that there's two semi-new shooters. One's kind of a lighter race colt that mentally has struggled in strategic focus, but definitely has the ability, who had the blinkers for Chad Brown. Then you got Magnitude, who we saw run the fastest race of the year for a 3-year-old in the Risen Star. Now it was aided by a racetrack that was definitely playing to his running style. But he came back in the Iowa Derby because he was injured after that race. We never got to see him compete against the top 3-year-olds in the division in the Derby or Preakness or Belmont or anything. So he adds the intrigue in the race. Then there's two outsiders, that McAfee and Bracket Buster, that really, unless you can tell me you can make a case for them, probably won't enter too much into the conversation here. But Sovereignty's been your boy, mostly been a favorite, but you were on at 8-1 in the Derby. So, you were at the wedding. But any chance of beating him here?
No, I mean, I really don't think that any of these horses has a live shot to beat him at all. I mean, Magnitude would be the only other, it's not even a great value play, but the only other horse who's going to try to run off with it and then hope that he can't close somehow. And the track is playing faster than we've seen, faster, like you said, to that Risen Star Day after the injury. But I mean, I think it's important to remember that he ran that fast and then he got a little hurt, a little sore. So I don't think that we're going to see him run like lights out, balls to the wall like we did maybe before. I mean, I'm not saying he's a bad horse by any means, but I mean, none of these are Sovereignty caliber horses, in my opinion, at least.
Okay, so the first thing we could talk about and see if it's tough to come up with wagers within the race. I know we're not going to bet Sovereignty at 2-5, or if you want to, more power to you. I mean, I think he's probably going to win the race. And if they ran the race, maybe for some reason the other horses take money, and to you, he's going to win the race more often than the win odds. I would never knock you for it. Wouldn't knock you for betting the others. But the problem is Magnitude, like you said. I could see if he was like a 7-2 shot, you had a few more horses in here, but they weren't going to get in the way of the lead. I could see that being a legitimate wager, but if you like them, you're going to get like 9-5. It feels like a really poor wager. So to me, you could either opt to bet. Maybe you could like strategic focus. I could see the case that he has moves forward in him. So to me, in the way I kind of describe it in our wager guide, which is we're doing alongside with VSiN this week, definitely going to want to check that out, is I think you either have to take a shot against Sovereignty on top, which we are not going to do, or try to beat Magnitude for second, right? Because that exact is going to be huge. A lot of people are going to be convinced it has to come in 4-1. Me, I tried to go 4-3-1 try and a 4-3 exact. That don't love the play. Do you think there's any sort of play underneath in this race? Underneath Sovereignty other than Magnitude?
Yeah, I do. And I really like your 4-3 exacta. If I was shopping for, I am shopping for value in this one because
it'll be better than
not going to be. It'll be better than 4-1, that's for sure. But I mean, with such a short field and such a short price prohibitive favorite, I mean, you're not going to find a ton of value really at all. So you're going to have to. If you're strong in that opinion, then you're really going to have to hammer it to get any kind
that's
of
the thing I wanted to say.
Back, basically.
Just play cold exactas in this race, unless you're boxing. If you want to box 2-3-5 and think Sovereignty and Magnitude are both going to finish out the exacta, I don't think that's good handicapping. But from a wagering perspective, I wouldn't fault you. But otherwise, this is not an exacta box type race. This is a cold exacta. Don't play 4 with 1-3. Don't play 1 with 3. Just take shots in this race and play them for more. Like Bailey was saying, you put your budget into it. Now, if both, who you would play a 4-3, so would I. Maybe a lot of people are going to play it, and it's going to be something that we don't want. That kind of takes away any sort of desire for both of us. Am I speaking for you correctly?
Yes.
Okay. So then let's talk about the doubles, which is what, the others we've been talking about a lot in this on these building tickets with some favorites. You've got the Forgo right before it, which is obviously the better race, which is a grade 1. Problem with that is you've got another horse that looks very tough and Bookham Dano. Did you agree that Bookham Dano looked too good in there to take on that double, the double 12?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, to the forego into the Travers here. I do agree. I think that Bookham Dano is another short price prohibitive favorite. Maybe not as strong of an opinion that I have on Sovereignty, but with these two short prices, I mean, I even looked at this double and then maybe like a pick 3 with those. But when you have 2 out of 3 legs that are so short, I mean, it's just not really worth the units that it would take, basically, in my opinion, at least, to put it towards something like that. So, I mean, if you want to play the forego Travers double and you think that Bookham
Well, you
Dano
can try to beat one of them too, but but to me, they both look very, very tough. And I agree that even if you're not going to bet Bookham Dano, you're not like running to the windows to try to beat them, right?
Yeah, no, definitely not. I mean, you're going to get sub even money on Sovereignty, and you're probably going to get what, sub 2-1 on Bookham Dano, would you say?
He's 8-5 on the morning line. Sovereignty's 2-5. David's pretty good. I think, Bookham Dano's field has what, 9 horses in it, or let's see, 11 horses in it. He's not going to be that short, but the double will be, because there's going to be a lot. That's the kind of double that people with a lot of money that like playing, things that are likely to come in will just play $1,000 doubles and stuff. And it kind of, it hinders your ability to play a couple dollars and make any money.
Yeah.
But, all right.
A little too rich for my blood with that one.
All right. Well, let's talk about, I think then race 14 is the one that it sounds to me like you're going to opt the final double of the day. They used to have a double like this. Always the late double and the early double. The crazy thing is, looking at this wagering menu, I wanted to just mention that for those that weren't aware. Amazing. Pick 5s. I don't know if it's too much. It's chaos. It's pick 5 every other race. Race 1, race 3, race 5, basically all the way through. And then it's pick 4s for the even races. Other than there's one when the pick 6 starts, it starts alone, which makes sense. They don't want to take away from that, but they're going to take away from it anyway because there's so many options. But for horse players, you won't get as big of pools in some of them as you're maybe used to at NYRA. But what you will get is kind of an opportunity to pick out the races you like most, and you don't have to you never should force it. But if you like to play the big days and the horizontals, you can kind of pick whichever sequence you like. To that point, what do you like about the 14th?
Yeah, I of course, have a little propensity for turf races. It's not a turf sprint, which, we could all be so lucky. This is maiden claimant fillies and mares going a mile on the turf. So definitely not forego caliber of horses or Travers caliber of horses by any means. But I'm going to go a cold double with Sovereignty into the number 9 here, Catholic edition for Linda Rice and Jose Ortiz. She's 5-1 on the morning line. And with this full field in the turf race, and hopefully everybody's kind of diverted their attention away from this get out race at the very end of the day, and then I can get some value here after not getting it in the Travers before. She's adding blinkers this time to help her focus. She kind of struggled last out at the start, got a little bit distracted, had a bit of a difficult start, and then Jose comes on to ride. She's got some solid speed figures and the addition of those blinkers there for this medium race filly with a more aggressive rider, especially at that price, trying to find some value. So for me, cold double Sovereignty into the number 9 Catholic edition in race 14.
Interesting. I think the 10 Red Llama will be the favorite in there at 3-1. I don't think anybody will be hammered too much, but this is a George Weaver that drops in class, and that's kind of why you'll see that one take the most money. There's a couple other class droppers to an extent, but none that have any sort of resume where this one has showed speed. Weaver's had a great meet, but Weaver has been awesome with turf sprinters first out, and this horse has already had 2 turf sprints. I think this is a vulnerable favorite as well, but I guess she can make the lead. So to your point, 5-1, you get Jose, not Irad, which both are riding excellent. Is Irad not even right? Yeah. Oh, Irad's on the 1, the other Linda. But Irad's the one that takes the money, I think, I agree. That Irad money comes in, it seems. So but that's a square double. The one thing you can do is, since Sovereignty is before it, is you can look at, and this is not just for you, but you always want to look at the probables, and the issue with those is the computer money that comes in does sway it late. But it does give you a barometer, and you can, use the will pays and the probables. But just to be sure that, this horse, well, it's not going to be that this horse will be a bigger price on the tote board than the double will pay, but there's situations where it's closer than it should be when you're taking a short price, So just always something that you'll probably have to learn from. But I like it. I mean, you're getting those doubles down. I like that you just kind of turned away from the obvious one and went to something a little more appetizing in terms of value. Well, obviously the Kentucky Derby, the most anticipated and strongest 3-year-old race pretty much annually. But man, this Allen-Jerkens is as intriguing as it gets, Bailey. I don't know how it'll look when we look back at it, in hindsight, maybe even a few months, few years, whatever. But there's a lot of intrigue in this race, and there's some question marks and some cool. I think it's one of the cooler races I've handicapped or just looked at in a while. Still narrowing down. We are recording a little earlier this week with Bailey being the world traveler that she is. Plus, it's a big week. So I haven't come up with my top pick, but I'm putting the pressure on Bailey in this conversation. But what's most intriguing to me is you've got a lot of horses that want to be forward to an extent. Not a ton that, at 7 furlongs, like have to be there, but probably want to be. And then you've got the fact that you've got 3 horses from one barn, Bob Baffert, and all 3 of them to me are amongst those. I mean, I think Midland Money, the 2 horses, is the speed. I mean, he's the speed of the speed. The rest depends on where we go with it. And maybe you have a thought. And then you got Maddocket Road, who his best races have all been forward. But, at some point, maybe he'll try relax. I don't know. I don't know what I think of that. But then you've got all the Barnes who we haven't seen in a while. He was the Derby favorite at one point, or very close to it, and really put in a dud in the San Antonio Derby, cutting back now for the first time since January 4th. And then you got a pair of Brad Cox runners to boot to add to the 5 of 8 in here. So 5 horses, 2 trainers, Verifier, who's undefeated, and Patch Adams, who is probably at the head of the division after winning the Woody Stevens, which was the other big race for 3-year-old dirt sprinters on the main track. But man, there's a lot going on in here, and it's fun.
Yeah, this is a pretty, a much more loaded field with more live shots than the Travers, like we talked about. I mean, you've got literally so much speed. I feel like we don't really know what to do with it, especially this early in the game when we're filming this on Wednesday. Yeah, like this early in the week. You know what I mean. Stop. Don't clown me about that. We normally do this on Thursdays, and it's a Wednesday, and it's early in the day and in the week. 20 similar races so far this meet at Saratoga, and favorites are winning 50% of the time, with 75% of winners at sub 5-1 odds. So it's not like you're going to get some crazy long shot in this field, especially with, I think, how close this pack will probably be. Chancellor McPatrick, the only former closer, now reformed, maybe, I don't know, in this field. And then probably not, though. And then everyone else being up on the front. Who was that Baffert horse earlier this summer that was like super lightly raced, sprint to routing, and everyone loved? Yeah, Cornucopian. Midland Money is another Cornucopian, in my opinion. I hated that horse. No, he's not as hyped. Thankfully, everyone.
650K though, huh? Did you see that?
Yes, I did see that, and he's a freaking chance-a-lot, a $5,000 chance-a-lot. And the only reason that he went for 650K is that his 4th dam is the dam of Girolamo, a stallion who went to Korea. And also, I have Girolamo, so I do love, like, my 10-year-old retired racehorse is by Girolamo, and he's like the only horse I have ever met that's by Girolamo. Girolamo's not an amazing sire, nor was he an amazing racehorse. $650,000 for that horse is a freaking racket, if you ask me. But what do I know? I'm not a bloodstock agent. He's the rabbit in this field.
Don't you think he worked really fast at the sale as well?
Yeah, but I don't think that fast sales works means jack shit.
Oh, no, I know. But you mentioned that's why he sold for the price. I think that's why he sold.
Oh, yeah. In hand with the fast.
Yeah, I'm not saying it makes a great racehorse. I just think it increases sales prices. And that's why they're trying to kind of stop people. You give some of these horses might run the fastest race of their life or fastest in their life before the sale, and like,
Yeah, they're never going to run back to that,
Some of them pan
10
out though. I like following the money, but anyway, to your point, Midland money 2 for 2, but this is a big step up, right?
Yeah, 2 for 2. This is a massive step up, and when you've got like, I mean, not older, but like more experienced horses, especially at this level, he was kind of an immediate toss for me. Excuse me, I'm going to Patch Adams here on this Wednesday recording for Brad Cox, one of the 2 Brad Cox horses in this race, and then the 3 Baffords, like you mentioned, coming off of a very solid win in the Woody Stevens. And I think that his speed figures are the best of the field if you want to go strictly by that. And like I mentioned before, most of these races have been won by horses that are sub 5-1, and he's 3-1 in the morning line. So it's not like we're going to get.
When you say most of these races, I missed the top of that stat. Most of what races? I know you prefaced. I heard the stat, but I didn't hear you preface the. Like what races are
yes. 20 similar races, 6 furlongs to 7 furlongs between $125,000 and $500,000.
Gotcha.
So far.
Okay.
Yeah. Lots of historical stats and figures.
Yeah, the one thing. Well, tell me when you're sorry. So you Patch Adams. You're just going to want to live and die with Patch. That's fine. It's not like anybody's going to be a huge favorite in here because there's so many good ways to go. But just as one of the favorites, he'll probably be able to live and die on top type horse for you, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
The one thing about Patch that I tried to, it's not even necessarily poking a hole, but it's a question, is he's never been close to drawn down on the rail. And this is kind of tricky, and I know you're a post person as well, and this is where I am when it's sprints, when you're going inside versus outside. Like, the 2-hole to me would be almost as concerning. I wouldn't be over the rail. He's got the right rider. If he gets out of there, but if the question is he's not going to, in an ideal world, he's not going to try to go with Midland money, right? He's kind of a stalker. But you're going to have to ask him to come out of there, and then you're going to have to ask him to sit in the pocket, which he might be good enough to do it. It's just a question more than a knock, right?
Yeah, especially that's a really good point. And post position is definitely something that impacts my handicapping. I know that you don't think about it as much as I think about it. But
doing one-turn races like this, like when there's
but he's always been like
outside, but I'm not with like 3-hole versus 7-hole if there's 11 horses,
that technical and like some of us. He's always been like a middle of the gate or an outside horse, and then having to break going like that, and then hold on a second, we've got to check, but we've only got 7 furlongs to go. It definitely would give, anybody reasonably pause, I think, just the way that you have to kind of play that ride out, basically.
Well, like I said, I don't have my final opinion for the race. I want to look at the thoroughgraphs, which is a final major data point for me. I can tell you though, the inside 3 Patches, the likeliest of the inside 4 to win the race easily, but I'm not going to take the price. That's the only thing I have a knock on Patch because of the rail. I think Midland money I will let beat me going 7. I'm with Bailey, even though obviously, he's kind of unknown. He could just be a speed freak. Barnes, I let beat me every time, a horse that I think peaked early, and Bob really has nowhere else to run this horse again. Can he win? Yep. Absolutely, he could win, but he also could finish last, right? Cancer to me is a horse that I've never been a huge fan of. I think he is a cut below grade 1 competition, and I think he's going to be way too far out of it. Irad, though, he's having a heck of a meet. Verifier, though, tough to knock. And then you've got, to me, though, the interesting play, and where I'm hoping to maybe break the trend, I haven't gotten there fully, but Captain Cook, he doesn't look fast enough, and he hasn't been quite good enough, but Todd Pletcher now has him. This is a horse that showed a lot of promise at one turn. He last time out against Verifier and Smoking Wicked, he was on the inside to the point of that mattering in one-turn races on the lead. I don't know if that's the trip he wants on a cutback. Now the blinkers come off and he's on the outside. So I think he's going to get a different type of trip to the point of, a kind of horse that you want maybe coming from a little bit off of it. But I don't know if I'm fully there, but he's going to be a big price.
I think that would probably be a pretty Safe is not the right word because I feel like our bets are never really safe in horse racing. But a logical exacted that I would play would be Patch Adams over
The
Captain.
captain.
I'm very
Patch over the captain.
Patch over the captain.
Captain.
It sounds like a pirate crew sailing around in a children's
That's exactly
book or
what it
something.
sounds like to me. So, all right. Well,
Hey,
good
I'll
stuff.
take that hunch bet.
Yeah, we got into it, kind of broke it down a little bit differently a day earlier. Maybe people seeing this. Are you this when are you going to get? When's the producer going to get this up? Will it be up on a Wednesday or will it be up on Thursday?
Yeah, it'll be up today. We're driving an hour and a half down
Today's
to
Wednesday,
Mount Rainier National Park this afternoon. So I'm gonna take care of it on the drive and then get it up later today on Wednesday. So you have a whole extra day to watch this week and tell us how much you agree or do not agree with our takes on the Travers card. As always, thank you so much for watching another edition of Horse Sense as I'm on the road this week in Seattle. So like I mentioned, if you hear any honking or signs or anything, just enjoy that city atmosphere. And while you're thinking about it, make sure that you check out and opt into all of our promotions, including that $5,000 Travers Day Exactathon. And then take a look at the VSiN Travers Day Wager Guide. Like Scott mentioned, we've got some picks and analysis in there, some wagering strategies, grid picks for the Travers, like our typical regular wager guides, and then some more information from our partners over at VSiN. That's a really nice guide full of tons of information and takes a lot of the guesswork out of it for you. Let us know in the comments how you're playing the Travers, if you think that Sovereignty is a vulnerable short price favorite in that race, and then how the Jerkens can shake out in your opinion. And we'll see you next time on Horse Sense.